763-0133. My eyes aren't working this morning, Ken.
Want to borrow my magnifiers?
I should try them, see if they work. But anyway, that's it. That's the number, 763-6133. That's 250 in front of that. Or you can go to the website, www.sunfuntours.ca, sunfuntours.ca, and see if you can't have a look at the tour. The tour, basically, for a double, booking two people, is $719 each. Now, that includes 3 nights at hotel, 3 beautiful breakfasts in the morning. It includes tickets to the show for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
It includes the bus ride down. You don't have to buy gas. You don't have to buy, none of that. And what else was it? Nothing else?
Oh, yeah. We have callers on the line.
Oh, we do. We have a caller.
This is a top secret hand signals I'm
hand
giving
signals,
Don
okay.
here, in the background.
And we got, is it Michael? Michael.
Good
morning,
this is
Michael.
Hey, Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you, and congratulations on your 1,000th show.
Well,
thank you very much.
It's quite an accomplishment. I would like to invite everybody to come to a musical program this evening.
Oh, nice.
It's called Carol of the Bells Christmas Festival. The featured group are the Alleluia Ringer Quartet with their bells.
Oh, nice.
As well as a variety of musical selections. So that's at 6, but come 15 minutes early. It's presented by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on Glenmore Road. That's 696 Glenmore Road.
Mm-hmm.
And a food bank donation would be appreciated. No cost to come.
Right on. Now, are you having your regular display, the nativity displays?
This is taking the place of that this year.
Okay.
We are not having the creche like we have for so many years.
Right. Well, that's fine. And this sounds great. I love those bells. You know that. I love the bells.
I do. And so I'm singing about the bells.
Oh, right.
With the choir.
Beautiful. Well, Michael, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate that. And just repeat that again. Where and when? So
this is Carol of the Bells this evening at starting at 6, so come early, at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at 696 Glenmore Road.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Okay, bye now.
Thanks for calling.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
And, I just got a ding on my phone. What does that mean?
You did.
It means I got a message on my phone. Probably telling, I don't know what it's telling me, but we're going to take a short break. We've got to take a short break. We're past our break time, but that's okay because we're having so much fun.
Yeah.
And we'll do that, 250-862-2525 to get through to Ken and I today on our 1,000th show, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Okay, we're back with you, and we have Bob Hayes on the line. Good morning, Bob.
Morning, Bob.
Good morning, Don. Good morning, Ken. How are you guys?
We're well.
Good, thanks.
Merry Christmas. It's December 1st.
It is.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Wow. So, may I do an announcement for the Historical Society?
You sure
please?
can.
You betcha.
Well, I am currently at Rona on Springfield. Beautiful place. It's decorated for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a table set up in the Christmas section. That's the Kelowna branch of the Historical Society. Has a table set up. And we are selling the 82nd report.
Mm-hmm.
That's the current report. And we are selling our popular street names book. And those books are both $25, no tax. Plus, this year we have an added bonus. We are selling our first ever calendar. It's a calendar. It sells for $20, no tax. It shows pictures like Iwashita's store in Chinatown. It shows the armories. It shows things to do with early regattas, early pictures of Kelowna.
I've got one, Bob. I'm just going to jump in here. I've got one of those calendars, and they're not your typical pictures that we see so many of. They're quite fresh. There's some pictures that I'm sure many of you have never seen before.
Absolutely. We went into personal collections, some are from my collection, from other collections, and I have to say one of the pictures we deliberately did not put in because we're holding it for 2020 is the post office. Everybody says, where's the old post office?
Yeah.
That will be in 2020.
Right.
But the calendar has all sorts of historic dates hidden amongst the various months. On the back, there's information about the ferry schedules and the things to do with the bridge. It's jam-packed with historic information. It's $20.
Fun. Now, these are great gifts. The books and the calendar, great gifts for folks. Those folks that have everything. They got everything. Well, they haven't got one of these.
And the calendars, sorry, Don.
No, I'm just saying they don't have one of what we're promoting here.
Absolutely, and the calendar comes in an envelope, so you can just write an address on it and send it to Canada Post, and it will arrive in good order. Yeah. So we are here at Rona till about 4:30.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Sounds good. And Bob, you've just contributed to our 1,000th show.
Well, congratulations! Happy 1,000th show, and here's to another 1,000 shows.
Thank you, sir. Well, we're gonna do it.
We're starting to work on it next week.
We're working on it next week. We'll start.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate all the good help you give us.
You betcha. Take care, Bob.
People want to come down at Rona in the Christmas department.
Yeah, and you're here from, again, the times?
From now till about 4:30.
4:30. Sounds good.
Okay?
Take care, sir.
Fabulous.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Take care, yep.
Bye-bye.
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 Yeah, Bob Hayes, a very, very avid worker in, preserving Kelowna's and the Okanagan's history. It's just a fantastic guy, and he works hard doing that. And I'm going to suggest people take up on his offer to come down.
Yeah.
If you want to buy a gift for someone who pretty much has everything, you've got your historical, the annual report from the Historical Society, which is always interesting. Then you have the street names, which kind of you wonder, where'd the name Bernard come from? Where did the name Hall come from? Where did the name, all the different names of streets? Burnett, how did that happen? So that's a great book, too, for a gift for people that are new to the area or people that are old-timers here. And then, of course, the calendar's great, too. Now, we've got something you showed me just before, and before we take this next break, and we do invite your calls, 250-862-2525 to get through to us. We have a great thing coming up here, and it is, I'm just trying to...
Happening today,
yeah, it's happening today. I got to make this bigger. Oh, I can't see it now.
Do you want my...
Here we go. No, here we go. Here we go. We got it. We're making it bigger. This is the 10th annual Touch of Christmas Crafter and Vendors Fair. Your unique one-stop Christmas experience featuring 80-plus crafters and vendors, 50/50 draw, door prizes, online and on-site silent auction, musicians and performers. Our Touch of Christmas Cookie Bar will be serving mouth-watering Christmas cookies and delicious beverages. Now, I can attest to the cookies because I've eaten one of them. They are delicious. They're beautiful. They're so beautiful you don't want to eat them, but you eat them anyway because they do taste good. And I watched the ladies putting these together. These are handcrafted cookies. These are not your Girl Guide cookies. Yep. These are handcrafted lovingly. I saw them. A group of ladies handcrafting these cookies and decorating them. They're pretty good. And they're Christmas green, actually, which is really kind of cool. So online auction begins Friday, November 23rd. Well, that's already done. Yep. But A Touch of Christmas, that's this afternoon, right?
Yes.
It's happening. A Touch of Christmas Crafters Fair is a major fundraiser to support the local socioeconomically health and mentally challenged individuals and families. The adult entry is $2, very reasonable, just a toonie. And every $2 delivers a week's worth of food to someone who might otherwise go hungry. Food bank donations received on location. We partner with the Central Okanagan Community Food Bank to deliver hampers to clients who are unable to receive the food bank or the hampers themselves. Parking is free. Where is it? I'm trying to find out where it is. It doesn't say where it is. All this, and I can't see where it is. But I'll tell you what. I bet you
we can find it.
We'll find it. We're going to find that out. The Vendors Fair.
And this is a hands in service.
This is hands in service.
Hands in service.
These are the folks that we do these living salads with, and they're a great organization. Okay, well there we go. We'll make sure we get the right the right
information
for you on where it is. Okay, now Yeah, we're now going to take a short break, and we will be back with more AM 1150 Gardening. Okie doke. And what's that address, Ken?
The address is 2041 Harvey Avenue, and that's the New Life Center. You know, the Woodfire Bakery is in the complex there. It's a really cool building.
Right on.
That's where they're having the big winter fair.
Now, we've got a very special caller calling in, Max DeHart. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning, Don. I just could not. I had to call and say congratulations on your 1,000th show. I can't believe what a milestone. It's just huge congrats.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate that very much. We're actually honored you call in. Now, we're going to have our big show, the big celebration, on the 22nd of December, and we're going to tie it in. We're stretching our show out to 3 full hours, normally 2. We're going to go 3 hours, and we're going to have guests on from all over the world.
Oh, my God. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I will give you a call then in the next week or two, and perhaps we could do something in the column for you to let people know ahead of time that this is going to happen so that they can all tune in, so the whole world can tune in.
That's
there
right.
You go.
Max, we really appreciate that.
Okay, I'll talk to you in the next week or 10 days.
Thank you, dear.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
That's going to be a big show.
It's
really big show.
Really big shoe, yeah. Yep. Good morning, Addie. You're on the air.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Congratulations, Don, on your 1,000th show.
Thank you.
Absolutely fabulous information you've been spreading over this town.
This like manure, right? We spread manure, too.
You've been doing a great service. That's why we're voted Canada's best flower city.
There
Gardening
community, you betcha.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions, and one of them is about my poinsettia. Like, sometimes it kind of droops a little, and I give it a little bit of water, and it comes right back up again. But before I give it the water, I feel the soil, and it still feels damp.
Well, remember that damp soil doesn't mean that there's actually water there for the plants. So dampness, it is important to allow poinsettias to dry out between watering. But when you water them, you can water them quite well. Like you take them to the sink, take off any trays or anything to allow the water to run through, and just let the tepid water run through the container, let it drip out, and then put it back into its sleeve or onto the table wherever you have it, and just let it sit until the surface of the soil just starts to feel a bit dry. Or the plant, you can see it sort of just wilting a little bit.
Yeah, that's what mine's been doing. It's just kind of drooping a little bit, and then, 2 hours later it's back up again. But I was wondering whether this was common to water it even though the top of the soil feels damp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, if you're seeing wilting, that's where I'm kind of thinking maybe it's not getting water right to the bottom of the pot. So you might have to just make sure you're giving it a good thorough soak, and then try that again. It should last for at least a few days. But the pots seem small for the size of the plant, so they eat that up quick.
And just for reference for everyone out there, if the plant is drooping and you water it and it doesn't respond, there's issues. There's root rot and things like that. So it's good that plant is responding.
Yeah.
Okay. The other question is it's a big one. It's the plants that I've brought in from the outside into the house.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to save them. I don't want them to be house plants. I just want to be able to save them for the next year. So do I water them as often? Do I keep them in a bright spot? What is the sort of consensus?
Well, it kind of depends on what plants you're speaking of. If they're plants that, like my dahlias that I've cut down, I'm letting them just dry right out in a cool spot in the greenhouse. I've kept them in the shed part of the greenhouse under a bench where it's quite cool. And you could do that in a spare room or something with things like dahlias. With things such as your datura, or not the datura, your brugmansia, geraniums, you can go either way. You can let them go quite dry and dormant, cut them back and go dry and dormant, and then get them going again in the spring. Or you can treat them as a houseplant. Ken's got geraniums all over his house. You go in there, it smells like a geranium in this house.
So they
so
will
nice.
They will bloom, though. It's okay for them to bloom.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a plant called the Mexican fire vine, and it grows profusely. But the thing is, it's growing in my house, and I'm afraid it's going to lose all its energy to grow next year. Should I just be clipping it back all the time?
They just continue to grow. You can trim it back whenever it gets unruly. If it starts taking over too much, then just trim off some of the shoots. But that's, vigorous growth is a sign of health. The plant's healthy and happy, so it's not going to take anything away from your next year's growth, and with a little more research on the botanical name of that plant, then sometimes we can give you a little bit better advice on that. But, a little more research is always helpful just to see what it needs to do in order to perform well next year.
Okay, so should I keep on watering it as I do my other house plants? Like once the soil gets dry, keep watering them.
Yeah, if it shows you the plant starts to wilt a little bit and it's showing you signs of that drought, then for sure you have to wilt it to keep it, turgid and upright, right?
Yeah. One of them has developed aphids, and I sprayed all my plants before I brought them in. This one must have somehow snuck up on me. So I've cut off all the new branches and all the branches that seem to have aphids on it, and I sprayed it again. Does that mean that some of my other houseplants might have caught it?
Not necessarily. Aphids are sort of species specific. They sort of like certain plants because of their taste or their smell, so they'll tend to go to certain plants and not to others. So what I do with those plants is I just keep an eye on them. Whenever I see a few aphids, I just carefully wipe them off with my fingers or use a damp cloth to squish them a little bit, and literally just by observation you can keep them in check. And you've done your due diligence to get rid of the majority of them, so now there's just a few left, and this should be pretty easy.
So they don't multiply rapidly or anything like that?
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah,
they do. Okay.
That's why if you start to see them, you want to be on it like a daily inspection for a few days in a row.
Super. Thank you very much, guys. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay. Thanks, Addie. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Addie, it's people like Addie that's helped keep the show active and going. She's a very big participant. We always enjoy hearing Addie call in, as we do everyone who calls in. And, and on that note, we're going to put up the number 250-862-2525 to get through to us. Ken, I've got a beetle on. I got to put my red suit on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be back, of course, next week. And don't forget, folks, on the 22nd of December, that is our really big shoe.
Our big
so
Christmas
just
shoe.
Wear that. And Ken, thank you for being here with me all these years. And carry on, buddy.
You betcha.
We'll be back with
Have
more
fun.
AM 1150 Garden Show.
Alrighty, welcome back to the show, our 1000th show here on the AM 1150 Garden Show. Ken Salvail, Don Burnett. Don's away for the rest of the show here, but we're still talking about gardening and talking about plants. I had on my list here to talk about the Christmas plants, just the plants that we see at this time of year. And there's so many cool things. I've been really thoroughly enjoying my Christmas cactuses over the past couple of years. And particularly last year, where my white Christmas cactus just bloomed and bloomed and bloomed. And the thing started in around the end of September, and it literally did not stop until March. And I couldn't believe it. It just kept coming on in waves and waves and waves. And I know that plant was pretty stressed. It was a plant that had almost froze to death at one point, and I think it was maybe just so excited to be inside of a nice warm house or something, and it certainly did explode into bloom. And I was thoroughly impressed with that. And then I also had a red and white one that's quite spectacular, and that thing just bloomed and bloomed and bloomed. And the key with the Christmas cactus is to make sure that starting sometime in September that they start to get cool nights. And that's what triggers them to start to bud, and their growth slows down so that the tips can mature. And when you're going into that time of year, we leave them outside. That's where I grow them outside all summer. And then I let them get that cool evenings, that maybe even down to 5 degrees Celsius at night. And it really helps to set the blooms. And then when you do bring it inside, in mid-October or so, then it starts to really kick in and bloom. It's just you just have to be careful. They don't really like the frost. I did have, like I said, mine did actually freeze where all the tips of the branches, I would say about 6 inches all the way around the whole plant. Like this plant was almost 30 inches in diameter, quite a huge plant. But about 6 inches all over the whole thing had actually froze and had to be trimmed off because it had gone mushy. But what a tough plant, to survive that and then come indoors and rebound. And wow, what a rebound that thing had. And it hasn't started blooming this year yet. And I've followed all my own advice, but it is budding. I've just got tiny little white buds coming on the plant right now. So I think that one's going to be pretty well timed for Christmas. So that's going to be kind of fun to have that thing in bloom. And of course, I'll keep you posted on that for sure. So remember to mark on your calendar that December 22nd, that's when we're having our Christmas show. It's going to be an extended garden show, and we're going to have special guests calling in from everywhere. And we always invite everybody to call in and wish everyone, the best for the holiday season. And just to chat, and we'll be, like I say, we'll be having some special guests calling in and talking gardening and just talking about maybe the season that we've had. It has been an interesting year this year with the heat coming on a little bit later this year, sort of right in the middle of summer there, and the smoke, of course, that everybody did not enjoy at all. But it did. It only lasted, I think it was about a 5-week or 6-week period there where we had the smoke around. But previous years, I know we've had it even worse than that. But it's never nice to have the smoke, and hopefully we'll burn off some of that that fuel that's out there in the forest and get rid of that so that we don't have as many fires in the future, hopefully. But on that note, we were talking about the poinsettias and that there are so many different colors now and different varieties. And the caller had called in there in regards to the plants drying out in between waterings. And we often recommend that. We always say, if you have a poinsettia, they are a lovely plant to have at Christmas. The plants are usually oversized for the size of the pot. So you get this nice little 6-inch pot and this beautiful big fat poinsettia on top. So all the leaves there are using up moisture and using up water, so the little pot tends to go dry quite regularly. So what we want to do there is just when we water, we have to water it quite thoroughly. And like I mentioned to Addie, is to actually take the plant, pop it out of the sleeve or whatever, and as Don mentioned, poke holes in the bottom of the sleeve so it doesn't sit in water. But take it to the sink and give it a really good soaking and let the excess water run through, and then return it to its tray and just let the remainder water drain out there. And then we just observe. Sometimes I just touch the surface of the soil when it becomes just slightly moist. At that point, it's probably ready for rewatering. But we watch for the plant to actually just start to wilt a little bit, and that's a sign, that the plant is ready for water, and it's telling you. If you let the thing completely wilt, well, then you're going to lose a bunch of leaves, and leaves go crispy on the ends, and the quality of the plant can be affected. So just keep an eye on those poinsettias, and you'll have a great time enjoying them. They are prone. They're highly prone to root rot. And often after Christmas, the plants are just, they've suffered through the season sometimes with all the changing temperatures and everything. And they're often not that great after Christmas, but some of them just keep on going and going. And I know there are people out there who have poinsettias that they've had for years, and they just keep them going from year to year, and they become a nice house plant. They can be grown outside in the summertime. I know, obviously in nature they grow outside. And I recall being down in Florida one time, and I noticed that one of the neighbors had this beautiful, brilliant red shrub in their yard, and I thought, wow, what is that thing? It's just beautiful. It was about 5 feet wide and about 3 feet high or so. And sure enough, it was a poinsettia, so I just had to go over and have a look at it. I was just, coming from Canada, it was a pretty interesting discovery to find a beautiful poinsettia like that in full bloom right in the front yard of a property used as a landscape plant. So what a beautiful color for Christmas or for the holiday season. But it's just all relative. When we talk about taking care of plants, we always say, learn the plant and do some research on that plant, and that will give you the information you need to grow that plant on. So, it's really about that each plant came from a certain location. And once you learn about that location, you kind of learn a little bit about what care it needs or how much light it needs. If a plant comes from the desert somewhere, well, it better have nice full sun, right? So it's just one of those things that the more you learn about a plant, the easier it is to grow. Now, other things that are happening at this time of year, of course, is we're shifting gears into Christmas. We're looking at all kinds of greens and things, people decorating their homes and enjoying the beautiful greeneries that happen. And there's garlands and swags and all kinds of things that are happening. And one thing we often remind people is that as long as a tree or the plants or branches remain outside, they will literally last the entire winter and right through till spring without even losing a needle or anything, and they'll just be fresh as fresh can be. Because that's where the plant would normally be dormant outside in the cold. And so it's not until we bring them inside that they start to decline, or they, think of a cut flower, if you were to bring it inside and set it on a table for a few hours, that it would wilt and shrivel and die. But if we could keep it cool and keep it with an ample water supply, it would do quite well. So being in the floral industry for so many years, we used to do a lot of arrangements with some of these fresh greens, and we'd keep them in buckets of water. So when we would collect the greens, we'd collect them fresh, and then we'd have 5-gallon pails, and we'd have maybe half full of water, and we would stuff all these greens into them, and it just keeps them really happy and fresh, and they're absorbing that. Anytime they come indoors, they really like to have that extra moisture. But even just storing them outside is really the secret, is that's what keeps them really fresh. And then when you do have an event and you want to have these beautiful greens, the day of the event, that's when you bring them in and you set up your garlands and you set up your wreaths and everything. And this just helps to keep these things fresh and smelling beautiful. And I just find that it's that whole thing that once I see them starting to go crispy and dry out, there's a little bit of a fire hazard there, of course, which we have to think about. But ultimately, they're just nice when they're really, really fresh. So keep that in mind. It goes the same for the Christmas tree. If you have a live tree, I'm finding less and less people seem to have live trees these days, but when you do have a live tree, it's the same thing. As long as it's outside, it would last all the way till spring. But when you bring it indoors, it greatly reduces its life expectancy. 10 days would be sort of a target for most Christmas trees, fresh cut, that they would require same conditions. The closer the conditions are to outside, the longer they last. But of course, indoors, we have this beautiful 70-degree Fahrenheit temperature, 20 degrees Celsius, and that's what really, really is a stress to these plants and these greens. So keeping them always fresh water in the vases, and particularly with the Christmas tree in the pot. And we've mentioned before just keeping that water nice and clean and using nice hot water. Any kinds of greens or anything will absorb water much faster if the water is warm or hot. So, you want that water to get in there quick. And just keeps the plants beautiful and healthy and smelling wonderful. And that's what you want. Once the plant starts to get crispy and you can see the needles dropping and that sort of thing, its life expectancy has come to an end, and it's time to shuffle them outside. So even for an event, if I was having several events, I would likely have several series of greens, or let's say if you brought in a beautiful garland that you had for an event and you were going to have another event the next week and you wanted to reuse it, you'd likely take it back outside and keep it out in the cold until the following weekend and bring it in again, and you'd get 2 or 3 uses out of it that way. But if it was indoors for an entire week, by that time it's usually quite crispy and not at its best. But that's how that goes. And we are just reminding people about our big show that we're having on the 22nd of December. mark it on your calendars, and that's something we want to participate in. Just all you have to do is tune in to our show as we normally have each Saturday. And the 22nd is our extended Christmas show. We'll be having some recordings of Don's dad, Ernie, and his beautiful voice singing away as we do each year. And also we'll be having many special guests calling in as well as you, the listeners, calling in and wishing everyone a happy Christmas. And I wanted to mention the fair again today. It's the Hands and Service people that are having their Christmas fair that goes on each year. This is the 10th annual one today, and it's happening today, so you want to get down there. And it is at 2041 Harvey Avenue. It runs from 9:30 to 3:30 today, and that is at the New Life Center, which is just right by the Woodfire Bakery. It's kind of in behind the Orchard Plaza area there, the beautiful big white building that sits right on Harvey, and there's lots of parking, and it's a really cool place. And they were saying lots of vendors in there, so all handmade stuff and beautiful baking as well, so you want to get in there for some snacks. So this is a great day today to participate in that. All right, well, we're coming up to the hour here. We're going to take a break for news, and we do invite your calls, 862-2525 to get through to us today, and you can call in with any questions that you might have about your plants in your garden. And so we invite you to call, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Alrighty, welcome back to the show. It is a lovely day out there. It's our 1000th garden show today, and we're just enjoying being here every week, as we always do. And Don's doing his thing. And just on that note, we might just mention for people, if they want to go over and meet with Santa, he's arriving at Bylands Garden Center today at 11 a.m., I believe, by helicopter. So the kids just love that, and that's something we always mention every year, is that we get some pretty big crowds over there with the kids coming out to watch Santa come out of that helicopter. It's super exciting, and they have sometimes hundreds of kids, and they also have all kinds of great things going on and specials and all that kind of thing. It's a big event, and so it's happening today. And we did mention as well the Christmas fair that's happening. The Hands and Service are involved in, and it's just a fabulous fundraiser. Get people out there to enjoy that day, and that is happening today at 2041 Harvey Avenue. I mentioned before the break, at the New Life Center, and that's from 9:30 to 3:30. There's a Stuff a Bus thing going on, which we know every year we know there's the Stuff a Bus thing, and we're going to talk about that today too. And so that's for raising money for the food bank. And all right, we're going to go back to the phone lines. We have Rick on line one. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Ken. Welcome. Congratulations on your 1000th show.
Yeah, thanks, Rick.
If I had my calculator, I would divide 1,000 by 24 by 2. 24 because you're getting myself confused here. 2 hours to see how many days you guys are actually on. If you did it in succession, I'm sure it's quite a bit.
Yeah, well, it's been quite a few years. I'm sure it's in that. I think it was 98, so we were right on since 98 on this channel. So
wow.
Yeah. So
okay. So I got a question about back to the roses.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a Don Juan. It's a climbing rose.
Oh yeah, I know Don Juan.
When I planted it, I planted it about 6 inches away from the fence.
Right.
And it's starting to grow straight up. I'm thinking maybe I want to move it, or should I move it back closer to the fence?
I would say you want to be training it, right? You want to make sure that it does what you want it to do.
Well, it says here on the thing about the particular rose, it says this upright, vigorous rose. So it's saying that it grows upright, I'm assuming.
Well, it's actually, it's got some climbing ability. So it can be a climber, right, too. So it's like you can train it onto your fence.
Well, I tried to do that, but I'm about 6 inches away. I made a mistake, I think, of planning to get too far away from the fence.
No, so it should be all right. What you do is you let the cane grow up, and the cane grows, like you say, straight up, and just let it go, let it go, let it go. And when it gets up, it should get up about 6 or 8 feet high eventually. And when it starts getting up that height, then you start bending it over, and you bend it over, and you attach it to the fence. So you attach it along the top rung of the fence.
Okay.
And then you go in both directions, right, on each side of it. So as they grow up, you tie them down.
But I guess my question is, it's 3 feet high now. My fence is only 6 feet high.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I would have to put some type of lattice behind it to support it, or would it naturally bend over if I don't have the support there?
It won't naturally bend over where you want it. So you have to go out and sort of force it to go where you want it. And
Would
so
it be of any help to move it closer to the fence so it's up against the fence?
No, I think you're fine the way you're going there. It's just that what they do is they don't really know the fence is there, so they kind of grow in all directions. And so what you want to do is kind of keep it going quite vertical. And anytime you get any shoots that grow out, like over the lawn or over your walkway or whatever, you would reattach it. Sometimes what we do is we'll put a screw into the fence on each side of it, and then attach a guy wire of some sort, and we just keep pulling all the growth up against the fence so that it grows quite nice and right up tight to the fence.
Well,
and then we start bending it over, like I was saying, arcing it in both directions on each side of the rows where it's planted, and it forms just this beautiful show of flowers on when it's trained on a fence. It is like a climbing rose or a rambling rose, and you definitely have to control them. You can't really just let them do their thing. You have to go and attach them and force them to grow where you want, and it's always worth it, though. It's just such a beautiful show.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'll give you a call back in the spring, and we'll talk about fertilizers and things, because it's still, as I mentioned last week, it's got green on it, but leaves. Well, I'll just leave it for the winter and then deal with it in spring.
Perfect.
Good. Well, thanks, Ken, and you have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too, Rick. Thanks so much for calling.
You bet.
All right, bye-bye. All righty, there you go. Yeah, the roses are just going and going. This weather is definitely rose weather. We're finding a lot of plants just loving the cool temperatures, and they just keep on growing and they keep on blooming, and why not just enjoy it? Now, I did mention the Stuff a Bus thing, because that is really important. That's a fundraiser for the Kelowna Food Bank. Oh, go ahead.
Well, we're just going to be talking about this, and I'll let you take the main points, and I'll jump in whenever you need me.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Gurinder. Gurinder's helping us here with this with the Stuff a Bus Food Bank. Now, where is the bus going to be located? That's the big question.
Well, they're going to be at both locations with Superstores, so they'll be right in front of the store on both sides of the lake. So if you're on the west side, just head to the West Kelowna Superstore. If you're in Kelowna, just head to the Kelowna Superstore, and you cannot miss those buses. They are massive.
Fabulous. And they're interested in having certain specific things. They always appreciate cash, because then they can buy the stuff they really need, so because people do donate a lot of things, but sometimes they're short and they need to have cash to actually buy the things they need. But they like baby basics. They like canned vegetables, canned fruit, canned meat, chunky soup they've got on here. They've got pancake syrup. They've got peanut butter, stuffing, whole wheat crackers, cranberry sauce, pasta, side dishes, whole wheat pasta, new gifts and toys. There you go. So they just like to have a real selection of things. And you have something else there to add, Gurinder?
Well, and the other thing with the cash is with the food bank, they have 3 times the buying power. So, $25 becomes $75 for them.
Wow.
And then on top of that, if you're donating $25 cash, the BC turkey farmers, they'll also be donating a turkey on top of those, on top of that $25.
Wow. So a turkey for each $25 donation. Wow, that's fabulous. Well, there you go. So this is an opportunity to get out and participate in this. This is a great event. And it's just today, is it, Gurinder?
All weekend. So you'll have time today, time tomorrow. They started it off yesterday, and then on Thursday, the great team over at Sprout Shaw, they were putting stuff together as well.
Fabulous. Well, that's great. We'll mention that again as the show goes on, just as a reminder. So it's the time of year for giving, and so definitely get out there, and we all do our part and help people who are less fortunate, and get some food on the table. All right, so back onto our list of Christmas plants and things. It's just a fascinating world where just about anything that blooms indoors could be considered a Christmas plant. I mean, we talk about amaryllis all the time. I've got a couple amaryllis that are just shooting up. Wendy did a fabulous job finding amaryllis that have more than one stem coming out, more than one cluster of blooms. It's just it's a really cool thing. So really something, if you're looking for amaryllis, you try to pick the ones that have more buds on them. And we actually got 2 that are really nice. Each one has 3 buds coming, so it's pretty exciting. And they will be pretty close to blooming by Christmas, I would say. Okay, well, it looks like we have more callers on the line. Thanks so much for calling. And we have Sandy on the line. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning, and congrats on your shows.
Thanks very much.
I'm just a late listener. Only found you guys a couple years ago, but really enjoy them.
That's great.
You mentioned you kept your Christmas cactus types out in the garden in the summer. Mm-hmm. What kind of location would you put them in?
I put them in sort of a dappled sunlight situation. So where at some parts of the day you can get a little bit of full sun, but they kind of like that dappled light, like shady, partly shady. And that seems to be their best location.
Do you leave them in their original pot, or do you pot them in the garden?
I just leave them right in their original pot. And I usually try to up the water a little bit in the summer, so you just water them freely, just like you would any of your outdoor plants or outdoor potted plants. Yeah. And it really helps because it's like you're naturalizing it to the actual temperatures that it would experience in nature.
Could you do the same thing with aloe plants?
Yeah, aloes love to be outside in the summertime, and because they need even more sun. But the whole key is that when you move a plant from indoors to outdoors, you have to gradually expose them to the light so that their leaves can get used to the intensity of the sun. So I'll often say if I had an aloe plant, I would move it outside into a really shady spot where it hardly got any light, and I'd leave it there for about a week, and then I'd gradually move it into more dappled light and leave it there for a week or so, and then I would eventually move it into brighter and brighter light. And this would allow the cells on the outer parts of the plant to get used to that bright sunlight, and it prevents that sunburn that you get sometimes.
Would they, either of the Christmas cactus or the aloe, need fertilizer in the summer?
Oh, yeah, they can be fertilized. The aloe is sort of a little bit less. They're not a heavy feeder, but occasionally, once monthly on the aloe. But the Christmas cactus would like it probably twice monthly. So, yeah, they definitely like some food.
Have you got time for one more really quick question?
Sure, you bet.
I've got some very old, small amaryllis bulbs.
Mm-hmm.
I found them in a pot that's been in the house. I'm just wondering if they might come back to life.
Yeah, if they're very, very dry, that's usually a good sign. So if the pots are dry, and then if you put your fingers into the soil and feel the bulb with your fingers, and if that bulb is hard, like it's actually firm, then you're probably fine. And I wouldn't be surprised. You just bring it out, put it in a sunnier location, slightly warmer, just very small amount of water, so you start to moisten it a little bit, and you gradually moisten it. They don't want to be too soggy before they start producing leaves, and then usually you'll see some little shoots that would come out of the middle. And as soon as those leaves are starting to grow, then you can water them a little bit more, and that's where they start to use the water that you're putting in there.
And with any of the Christmas plants, could, because of carbon tax and finances,
Mm-hmm.
I'm keeping the house about 16 degrees. It isn't very warm.
Mm.
Will they still grow?
Yes, that is a minimum temperature. Sort of at night is fine, and even if it can go right down to almost 10 degrees at night. So those would be okay temperatures, and then in the day it comes up a bit. So yeah, no, that's fine. It's something that we do experience in nature, is those cooler temperatures. It's just that for tropical or subtropical plants, that's sort of the limit. Once they hit about 10 degrees Celsius, that's about as cold as they would normally experience. So we like to keep them above 10 degrees.
Okay. Oh, thanks so much for your help, Ken.
No problem.
Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for calling, Sandy.
Okay.
Take
bye.
care. Bye-bye. Yeah, it is. It's a pretty interesting thing that I can recall being. We've been to Mexico a few times and been to other subtropical areas, and in the winter months, right around Christmas, the nights are quite cool. You sometimes have to put a jacket on. It drops down to 12 degrees or so at night. In the daytime, up to about maybe 20, 22, 24 in the daytime. So, those are very similar to your room temperatures. It's just if you have your thermostat set to drop down at night, which we would normally do, and I know Fortis and the gas supplier people are recommending that we all conserve natural gas, so it's good to have your thermostat down lower at night. And in the day, too. Right now, we're trying to conserve some gas. These are sort of more normal temperatures. If your house is always at, say, 72 degrees round the clock, always 72, well, then what happens is it's a kind of an abnormal situation. Plants don't experience that really, I think, ever in nature. That it always gets warmer in the day and cooler at night. So even if cooler would be 72 degrees, but there's still that difference in temperature that happens, and that's all part of normal plant growth. So when we grow plants inside, we move them close to the windows where they get lots of light, and in the winter months, even that little bit of cool air that comes off of a window is welcome to the plants. They kind of like that, and it helps them kind of cool off a little bit, and again reminds them that it's nighttime and daytime. We have lights on sometimes so much the plants can't really tell by the day length because our lights are affecting it. We're artificially extending the day, so it's one of those things that plants those are triggers for plants: temperature, the moisture itself, and the day length. So we're always say altering the day length, and it does have an effect on the plants for sure. All right, well, we're going to take a short break, so we'll do that, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Alrighty, welcome back to the show. 862-2525 to get through this morning. And just jot that number down and think hard about your plant questions and give us a call. Really appreciate that. Keeps us on the ball. So I think we have a caller. We have Linda on the line. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning, Ken. Always fun to talk to you.
Yeah.
And always fun to listen because I learned quite a bit. For instance, I took my amaryllis out of the paper bags, out of the door of the back porch fridge,
right,
and I sat it in a thing full of water. Well, when I heard you talk to that gal about her amaryllis, I poured the water off.
Yeah,
I don't need to have root rot on my nice fat amaryllis.
Well, you probably introduced it to some moisture, so that's good, and now it's rehydrated and it's ready to go. And now you can just let it dry.
It should be. It was in the fridge for 5 weeks.
Wow, there you go. Well, hopefully that thing just shoots up and does its thing.
Yeah, always fun. Like to share with you an update on last week's markets.
Great.
We had so much fun here in Peachland. We had 6 different community groups in 5 locations.
Wow.
And the town was just simply a buzz. And we blew, at the Visitor Information Center, we blew all of our records right out of the water. A lot of our vendors sold out, and everybody was just having such a good time. And this isn't the end. That's the best part. This coming weekend on the 7th of December, you can come to the Visitor Information Center for an evening market, the only evening market of the entire season, and it will be from 4 until 6. And then you can follow the fire truck and Santa down to Heritage Park, 6 to 6:30, and at 6:30 they're going to flip the switch, and Peachland will be ablaze in her Christmas light glory.
That's fabulous. The downtown area just looks so lovely with all the trees all done up.
The fire guys do a fabulous job, as do the staff of the town. So, yeah, it's a great time, and there's all sorts of things to just enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So come on out this coming weekend, Friday night for the evening market, and then Saturday next week I'll probably call in again and remind everybody that our last artisan market for the Christmas season until January will take place this coming Saturday.
Wow.
I really appreciate the opportunity to share what's going on in Peachland because this is such a beautiful town.
Yeah, it sure is, and there's always something cool going on there, and it's we do appreciate you calling in as well and giving us the updates.
Well, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day, Ken.
Okay, Linda. Well, thanks again. Have a good day.
You too.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. There you go. Report in from Peachland next weekend. That's the big light up. That's where they're going to have the whole downtown area is all done up with lights, and they flick the switch all at once, and away you go into Christmas. All right, we also have a caller on the line. We have Wendy. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning, and congratulations on your 1,000.
Well, thank you.
Okay, I don't have my amaryllis for the last 2 years has not. It leaves out, but no bloom.
Yes.
What am I doing?
Well, that's an interesting thing, and it's not that uncommon, actually. What we find with amaryllis is that they're sort of a plant that in nature is sort of free-flowering. So it doesn't bloom when you want it to bloom, and it doesn't have these seasons that are as let's say, bang on as other types of plants. So what we do is we try to get them to grow, and then when they grow a bunch of leaves on them. Then we want to just dry them right out for a period of a few weeks where we don't allow them to have any water at all. And I mean, about 3 weeks or maybe even 4 weeks. And the plant doesn't mind that, and sometimes they even just keep on growing. But after about 3 or 4 weeks, and this doesn't really matter what time of year it is, but we're always trying to get some color in the winter time. So we would be drying them out in August usually and letting them dry, and then into early September. And then we would just take that plant and chop the foliage off at about 2 inches above the bulb and just cut it off. And now we've got a bone dry bulb in a pot, and the little leaves will weep a little bit. So just watch for that. But then what you want to do is again, I usually let it sit for a little bit longer, just kind of dry out a little bit more. And then what we do is we sometimes put them in a cool location for a period of about maybe 4 weeks or so. So that could be in a garage or something. Have you tried that?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And then sometimes they just don't bloom. Yeah.
So I should get a different bulb.
Well, I would never give up on an amaryllis because when they do bloom, they're pretty cool. But interestingly enough, I had this same discussion with another horticultural guy, and he's quite knowledgeable. And his advice was, he says, sometimes they just don't bloom, and there's not much you can do about it. And he says, so you just wait. And he's got one that he's had for, I think he said it was 3 or 4 years, and it's finally got a bud on it. It's got a bud coming up, and he's like, oh my God, it's starting to bloom.
So the bud will be between the leaves, like the leaves are, well, they get up and they flop over. They're just, it grows and grows and grows.
If you want to try again, just let the thing dry right out again. So it's bone dry. Chop all those leaves off about 2 inches above the bulb. Do the process again, and then start cooling it down and give it about 3 weeks in a cool period. Then bring it out, set it on the windowsill, and just see what happens. And you don't want to be watering too much, just a little bit until it starts to produce some leaves. So it's this real. What we're trying to do is sort of shock the plant to say it's spring. Like send up a bloom, for God's sakes, send up a bloom. Right.
So my long leaves that I've got now, I'm chopping off.
Yep.
Yep, and let it cool down.
Yep.
In the garage or something, or
I have a room that people don't go in and out of very often, so it's always cool, and so I set it right on the windowsill of that room, so I'm getting the cold air off the window itself.
Right.
Right. So it's still, it's not freezing cold. Don often recommends he takes puts that whole thing, pot and everything into a paper bag and then puts it in his crisper in the fridge for 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, that I did that after I brought it in from the summer. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just this dry period. Maybe you're not having a long enough dry period before you cut them off, but give it another try. It's worth it. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. All righty. Then we are going to, is it Barbara? Okay, we're going to Barbara. Good morning, Barbara. How are you?
Good morning, Ken.
Hi, Ken. Dennis here as well.
Oh, there you are. Hey, Dennis. How's it going?
Congratulations on your 1,000th show, guys.
Well, thanks so much. That's wonderful to hear from you.
And just a reminder, I don't think you've mentioned it this morning, that the Garden Club have their annual Christmas potluck on Tuesday,
right,
starting at 6:30.
Right, this Tuesday. We did mention it last week, but we've had so many people giving us lists to mention that that one got bumped down. But that's great. Good thing you called in. Yeah, good thing you called in. Do you know anything else?
Thanks, Ken. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, Barbara. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Dennis. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. There you go. So, yes, the Kelowna Garden Club is having their potluck this Tuesday coming up. And so they do welcome just anybody can come in. I think you have to find out a little information on what to bring. It's a potluck. So they have fabulous events. The Kelowna Garden Club is one of the best garden clubs anywhere. And it's fun. They're always growing, and they're always growing. There you go. There's a pun. They are always growing and doing interesting things. And they're fabulous, fabulous bunch. All right, then we have Will on the line.
How you doing, sir?
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Building up in East Kelowna.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking within a couple weeks to be ready to plant, do some planting.
Mm-hmm.
Is there really a benefit to do it now over in the spring, like say trees that are 12, 15 feet high, things like that, different varieties? Like, am I risking them dying if something happens, or?
No, the whole key is just to understand the techniques of planting in the fall, and it's definitely it's different. It's different in a couple different ways, but bigger trees, like if I ever had to, like I've transplanted 30-foot high spruce trees and fir trees and stuff, and so people say, I want to move this tree. It's a 20,000-pound tree. We need to move it from point A to point B. How do we do that? Well, we always wait till we're into November, and that's the perfect time to do it. And you can move large trees and have good success at that time of year. But the key is that if you're doing it out of a pot or a container or even a ball and burlap, is that you have to be able to make sure that the roots come in contact with the soil that you're moving them into. So in other words, if you have a pot and it's a really dense ball of roots, and you take that thing and plant it in the ground, that thing will be dead by spring. It will desiccate and die. But if I took the pot, popped the plant out of it, and took maybe a hammer or something that's good at ripping roots, and rip that root system apart quite a bit. So I'm starting to pull the roots out and get them out in different directions. Then I plant it. I'm actually taking those roots and put them right out in contact with the surrounding soil. Then I watered in really good. Using some organic mulch of some sort, like, the Ogo Grower Nature's Gold is always recommended because it adds
putting like a good handful or whatever it recommends underneath.
Yeah, it's good to cover the surface around the plant. And what that does, it only has to be 2 inches thick, but it creates this beautiful organic acid, makes the plant root beautifully. So, that's all you really have to do. So the whole thing is because of these micro hair roots that come out of these plants, that they can only grow about 1/16 of an inch over the winter. And it's not much at all, but if they were inside that root ball that would eventually be bone dry, you'd have no chance of that thing surviving. It would just desiccate. But if we can pull the roots apart and get them out touching the soil, as soon as they grow, they have water. Just that fast.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so even this time of year, you'd still water them?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So plant them, water, rip apart the ball, throw some organics in there. But don't worry about if it's minus 10 even, like if the tree's sitting outside before you plant it, you have so many hours before that ball really gets, the roots get punished? That's
an excellent question. So that each species of plant has a limit of how cold the roots can handle. when you bury a tree into the ground, the root, the earth doesn't change temperature much. It's always right around freezing. You know, right on the surface it'll get -5 or something, but down deep it doesn't freeze. So getting those things or keeping them what we call healed in. So if I brought in a bunch of trees, I'd put them in a section, I'd bury them all with sawdust or mulch of some sort, or maybe like the Ogo Grow stuff. Just cover the roots up so they're not getting the hard frost. And then the day you're ready to plant, the holes are ready. You can just move them over, pop them in the holes, stake them up a bit, fill around them, and get them back into the nice warm earth. And they're good to go. Yep.
Right on.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Goodbye.
Take care. Bye. Alrighty, on that note, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Alrighty, welcome back to the show. Fabulous to have everyone calling in, 862-2525 to get through. This is our 1000th garden show, and I have had some people asking, what's going on with your website? And we've been doing all kinds of things in the background. We're starting to shuffle things around. We still obviously have our landscape business, which is KHS Landscaping, but we're really changing that around because we're not really doing much landscaping anymore. We're really just taking care of properties. We have a big group of clients we've been working with for years, and they're fabulous, and we have to really focus on them. So mostly we'll be doing maintenance from this point forward. But the growercoach.com is our new website that we're going to be launching. We're hopefully going to launch for February the 1st, but we're tweaking along the way. And it's going to be just this great horticultural site that you're going to be able to go to and have some fun, check out some cool stuff, learn as much as you want. If you're a professional, you can learn all the pro stuff. You can, if you're just a backyard gardener, you'll be able to learn that. There's video training, and there's going to be blogs, and there's going to be podcasts and all that kind of cool stuff, as well as a ton of videos. So watch for growercoach.com coming in the new year. And also, we're getting back onto our YouTube channel. You can just look up Ken Salvail on YouTube, Salvail, Ken Salvail. Just type that into YouTube, and bam, you get a whole bunch of different videos. And check them out. We have a channel there with a whole raft of videos, and always subscribe when you're there. It's something that is really important. We really appreciate that as well. And you can check Facebook, and we're on Facebook as well. You can look up Grower Coach, or you can look up Ken Salvail or Ken's Horticultural Service or any of that stuff. KHS, that's our thing. So over the winter when it's slow, that's the time to do some social media stuff. We're also on the Instagram as well. All right, we're going to go back to the phone lines, and we have Brent on the line. Good morning, Brent.
Yes, morning, Ken.
Good morning.
I have a pine tree in my backyard, and I need to put in a retaining wall, and I've done some hand digging, and the root is kind of in my way. And I'm just wondering how much damage it would cause if I cut the root.
Oh, that's an excellent question. It happens quite often. How big is this tree? Is it quite big?
Yes, I'm going to say 75 to 100 feet high.
Right, so it could hit something if it ever fell over. That's what you're telling me. Okay, so the key with that is that you don't want to actually cut those roots, because those roots are going to be the anchors. And think of them as guy wires that are holding the tree up. So you've got these wide spreading roots that go in all different directions. And if you cut the roots off on, say, on the north side of the tree, then if a big wind came from the north, it would fall towards the south because it doesn't have the guy wires anymore. So and with pines and a lot of these really dry growing species, they're going to be right on the surface of the soil, so they're very easy to disturb and to damage. So what we recommend is to try to bridge the roots if we can. So what we do there is we build like a really solid, just like you would a bridge. You'd build like what kind of wall is it? Is it concrete or is it rock?
I would like to pour concrete.
Okay, concrete is good. Because with concrete, what you can do is you can come right up as close as you can. Like you need to leave, like if it's a big tree like that, you got to have about a 15, maybe a 10-foot section where you don't cut those roots. So you come up to the section and you'll build a really solid base, just like you would a fence post or a gate. If you had a gate running into your property, you'd build a little bigger footing there. And then you'd build a bridge from that all the way across to the other side and build another one of these posts on the other side, and then continue on with your wall. Some people put in an iron beam, like a big I-beam on that, so that it supports the weight, and just throw your wall right on top of that. And once it's all buried in and back to grade, this bridge occurs underground, or at ground level.
Oh, okay.
So it's really something you don't see visually, but you're saving that tree. The only thing that anytime you're excavating around a tree, just always remember that you could cut the root that should not be cut, and that sometimes happens. And you rip through. Yeah, well, not so much a taproot, but trees have this thing where they'll grow a root out, and the root will find a sweet spot. It'll find something where it's got all the nutrients and water, so then that root grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and it becomes, let's say, 50% of the tree's source of food and water, just that one root. And if you happen to cut it off, then the tree goes into this cycle where it can take up to 5 years to die, but they sometimes will die from that. So when we're dealing with trees, we always be careful. It's a great thing that you're calling in, and that this can give you a little bit of an idea of how to do it. And and then you just hope for the best. And you probably won't know for about 3 years and how that goes, but
okay. Do you come out and, like, if I was to organize something with you to come out and look at this? Because I have to put this retaining wall in, and the roots are higher than the bottom of my retaining wall.
Right. Yeah, well, definitely we can do that. And what I can do is I can, we mentioned our email is ken@kelownagardens.com.
Okay.
So you can just send email to that address, and then that actually will come right to my cell phone, I believe, and I can answer you there, and we can set up a meeting if needed.
I appreciate that, Ken. I think
right.
that's the right page we're on now.
Yeah, perfect. All right, Brent.
Alrighty.
Yep.
You have a good day.
Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that's a great thing. When we're doing things around trees, we have to be really cognizant of what's going on underground. Like, it's surprising what trees will survive, what they go through and what people do to them, especially putting in sewer lines and stuff. They'll just chop all the roots off one side of the tree. And remember that the roots of a tree are really almost like the lungs of a tree. They breathe oxygen, and they keep that tree alive. And you don't want to chop off half the root system. And the roots are always usually within 2 feet of the surface of the soil. So if you dig a trench that's 3 feet deep past a tree, well, you're cutting through all the roots on that one side. So it's just really good to be aware of that. Now, I always say plants just want to live. They just want to live, and they survive the craziest things. And other times, it just seems like you just do one little thing and the thing dies. With big trees, especially large trees, they can live for up to 7 years or even more on their way out. So because once damage is done, they don't necessarily just die overnight. It takes years for them to slowly die. So anyway, I'm glad that people are checking in and asking the questions before they move ahead with things. That's fabulous. And where there's a will, there's a way, and you just have to think it through a little bit. Okay, on that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. Alrighty, welcome back to the show. It has been an interesting show, always is, getting interesting calls, people with plant problems and questions. It's fabulous. It's just what the show is all about, and we do appreciate that so much. We might have time for one more call, 862-2525. We're getting up close to the 9 o'clock time, but we will remind you of the Stuff a Bus plan that's happening. We've got the buses parked out at at both the the Real Canadian Superstore in Kelowna and in West Kelowna. And I'm pretty sure the RCMP are involved in that, aren't they, Grinder? No, well, they're going to be there. The bus is there, and they're asking for donations, and they always love cash because then they can buy the exact things that they need, and they get a lot for their dollar value. So it's always a great thing. And I mentioned that there was a few other things. Of course, Linda had called in regards to the Peachland light up that's happening next weekend. So we mentioned that. I've heard that the Kelowna is going to be lighting up downtown today, I think, tonight. Yeah, that's happening. So all kinds of things. It's that time of year. It's what's happening right now. The 10th annual Touch of Christmas Crafter and Vendors Fair is happening, which is, we mentioned a few times there today, and that helps the hands and service people that help people who can't get out, and they're just a fabulous group. And we have Pam that calls into the show regularly from there, and they do a wonderful job. And that is happening at 2041 Harvey, which is the New Life Center just down, not too far. Actually, the Wood Fire Bakery is there. That's how I always remember the name of the buildings, because they have such good food. Anyway, the Stuff a Bus thing, we mentioned that. And lots of things going on. And it's just it's that time of year. So again, we do always mention each week about something that's happening in the community, and those are some of the things that are going on. And we mentioned the Garden Club is having their meeting on Tuesday night this week, which is the potluck, and you may want to learn more about that. And remember that it's happening Tuesday evening, and it's usually at 7:00, as I recall, and it's down on Lakeshore Drive there. It's easy to find. You can also Google the Kelowna Garden Club online, and bam, you get the information that you need right away. All right, so on that note, a couple other things that I wanted to mention. Of course, the Christmas plants were things that we had talked about, and I just love these combination arrangements that you get. Orchids are one of the nicest things. There's so many of these nice Phalaenopsis orchids, and they do make such a beautiful arrangement. If you can get a small flattish dish of some sort and use an orchid in there, maybe with a little stake to keep it upright, and then you can add in a few of the succulents around that. The succulent plants and orchids have sort of a similar condition that they like. They like those types of conditions where they're humid but not too wet, and they don't mind having sort of a little bit of an air root situation going on where there's lots of space. And with orchids, at least the epiphytic orchids, they always like to have their roots sort of exposed a bit to some air. So we always keep them in their special orchid pots inside the arrangement. And it's just kind of a fun thing. Adding some sphagnum moss to the surface always adds a nice little touch, and it makes it easy just to keep that humid environment going. And with the succulent families, there's so many different types. It's just unbelievable. And they form just such beautiful shapes and colors. It's just a fun thing to do. So yeah, there you go. Some Christmas arrangements are pretty easy to do, and I always say to have fun with it. We did talk about poinsettias, but one of my favorite Christmas plants is the azalea. And azaleas, they're always they're abound all year round, but this is the time of year that they love to be around because the temperatures are cooler. They love to grow in cool house temperatures. So azaleas are sold at the garden centers, and usually you buy the ones that the buds are just popping, just starting to open, and you just keep them really wet. They love to be literally wet. And that type of a plant is one you don't let it dry out between waterings. It does not like that, doesn't take kindly to drying out, but it's so nice to have a plant that just blooms its heart out indoors, and it's just so lovely through the Christmas season. And they'll last for over a month sometimes, just depending. The cooler it is, the longer they last. So we do love the azaleas. Are one of the all-time favorite plants for sure. And on that note, I think I've covered pretty much everything. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the tip of the week. And it is that time of the show. And again, we do thank you for tuning in today to our 1000th show. And we remind you that on December 22nd, we're having our special Christmas show this year. And it's going to have all kinds of callers, some special guests that'll be calling in. We'll probably have some giveaways. We're going to have all kinds of things happening. But it's an extended show, 3 hours at Christmas. And, of course, Don's dad, Ernie, as always at Christmas, singing with his beautiful voice. We have many recordings of him, and I look forward to that every year. All right, my tip of the week this week was that now that the leaves are off your trees, it's time to give them an inspection. So you look closely for damaged branches, or in the case of fruit trees, of course, you always remove the fruit. But you're looking for branches particularly that might be dangerous, that might be hanging. So hanging branches, extremely dangerous. This is the time you do that inspection to make sure that nothing's going on that shouldn't be. And my plant of the week this week was the asparagus fern, which is just one of my favorite plants. And we recently acquired one, and it's been just growing like mad. Every time we turn around, it's got new shoots, and they grow 3 or 4 feet long. And it's just fun to have plants that grow, and it's just one of those things. So that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check KelownaGardens.com. And of course, as I mentioned earlier there just briefly, that we are developing a new website called GrowerCoach.com, which will be in place of or the same as KelownaGardens.com, which will be just a gardening site, which will be, it won't be just Okanagan gardening, but there'll be a lot on there in regards to the xeriscaping and how to manage gardens in this climate, methods of conserving water, which we always talk about, but important things like learning how to run your irrigation system. And don't get me started. There are so many things in this industry that we need to talk about, and that is so much fun in the garden, the vegetable gardens. It just goes on and on. But really looking forward to launching that site around the end of January. We're hoping to launch for the 1st of February, at least the major part of the site. And we do invite you to come and check that out. So it is at the KelownaGardens.com site, but GrowerCoach.com will be the new name. And it's just all about plants and horticulture, and so it should be really fun. We remind people to go and check out Ken Salvail at YouTube and sign up. That's what we're looking for. That's it for this week. Remember to check back next week for more AM 1150 Garden Show.